Well, I've been a fan of Boston Celtics for, my whole life pretty much.
First Celtics game was back when I was like 7.
The Boston Celtics became legendary.
What is going on, you guys? This is your boy Jesse Almeida here on YouTube and on Beantown Tinks. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, the Celtics lost in the NBA Finals in 6 games to the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors are your 2022 NBA champions. Congratulations to them for accomplishing the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. Their dynasty is still alive more than ever. This is their 4th championship, I believe. Something like that. They had 2 with KD, 1 without KD, and then this one without KD too. So yeah, this is their 4th championship since 2015. Huge accomplishment for them. I wish I was feeling what they were feeling right now, but it's still a successful season regardless. I'm still proud of the Celtics for the season that they had, regardless of the fact that they lost in the NBA Finals, because of the fact that finally, ladies and gentlemen, they've made it there. I've been saying this for the longest time. You can ask all my friends this, so on and so forth, right? All I really cared about, for them to take that next step to being a champion, I just wanted to see them there. Because I personally did not know if they could get to that level. And I would say with this team, even when they had Kyrie Irving and all of them, right? Yeah, obviously they were talented, very, very talented, but could that young core help Kyrie and them get to the NBA's biggest stage? And if they didn't, then obviously the answer is no. There's been so many years where they fell just short, where questions were starting to raise like, hey, is this team really a championship contender? Can this team go to the NBA Finals? It's been 12 years since the Celtics made it to the NBA Finals. I know that might not seem like a long time for other teams, but for us here in Boston, that's a long time. That's a long time. So I just wanted to see them back into the finals for once. And they made it back this year. And they played it at an elite level. If they made things easier in rounds before, or even in the regular season even, they're probably not as tired as they were in the NBA Finals. So, what's next? That's the real question. What's next? And for me, honestly, I feel like the next steps for this team to become champions and to get that banner 18, they need playmaking. They definitely need playmaking. They need some scorers off the bench. I didn't think they really needed that until I watched the NBA Finals and how turned up Jordan Poole went and whatnot. I know in that Finals video I said he was garbage, but that's because I was just being a fan and whatever. So don't take things too out of context. He's a very good role player. That's what the Celtics really need. I've been hearing TJ Warren might be coming to Boston as the mid-level exception or whatever. I would love that move. I've been hearing possibly big names coming too. I think you just add to this team. If you want to subtract, it's got to be like Derek White, Grant Williams, Peyton Pritchard. It's got to be minor subtractions. You really can't subtract anything from like that core trio of Marcus Smart unless it's a deal that you just cannot refuse. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and I heard Al Horford's probably going to be coming back on a team-friendly deal, so there's that too. Robert Williams, I think you could really realistically get rid of because his injury, his health is questionable here and there. So, like, I could see why they could get rid of him. So, I really think as long as you're not really tampering with the Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown trio, again, you don't trade Smart unless it is a move that you just cannot refuse. If you're getting a little bit better, or if you're getting somebody similar to him, I don't think you move him. So that's what I think they should do. We're going to see what this guy's opinion is with the Celtics offseason and what they should do. He says that this is more important than you think. I do too. Sporting Logically, go subscribe to him. I'll leave his link in the description down below. If you guys enjoy these videos, leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoy these type of videos. Subscribe right now if you guys are new. You guys know what to do. Go check out my website. There's a new article on the Celtics right now. The link is in the description down below. If you want to donate to help us go to games, the Venmo is in the description down below as well. Anything helps. Appreciate all the love and support. We will be going back to Sox games too. I was going to go to one last week, but it just didn't work out because I had a doctor's appointment, like a follow-up in Boston, and my doctor got sick the day that I was supposed to go there, and I was going to hit the Sox game afterwards, but because I didn't go to Boston, I did not go to that game. It was against the Tigers, so I decided if I get a $9 ticket after that day, I would go, but I didn't. And if I was going to spend $40 on a ticket, it would have been to see St. Louis. So I just threw it all away. I'll catch either the Rays or the Yankees coming back next time around. That's the next homestand, I am sure. And that's going to be a very big, important homestand for the Red Sox too, as they are one of the better teams in the American League right now. But anyways, we'll get more into the Red Sox later on. Right now, in this video, we're going to talk about the Celtics and why the Celtics offseason is more important than you think.
The Boston Celtics, after one of the most incredible regular season turnarounds, probably the most incredible regular season turnaround in league history, unfortunately fell just a little bit short. They lost in the NBA Finals. However, this is an interesting, not only offseason for this team, but team to look at moving forward over the next couple of years, because it's very easy to make the case that this is the team of the East over the next couple of seasons. Really quickly, though, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Factor. Factor is a meal prep service that can grow and get longer than just not only in that way you avoid nearly frozen all the seafood add or something can $5 off Factor, and especially for sponsoring this video. Okay, so just like with the Warriors video earlier in the week, let's quickly kind of recap the season, and then we'll talk about the offseason for Boston. So if you guys watched my videos during the finals, you know that I felt like, especially through the end of Game 3, Boston should have been the champions this year. And even though obviously the last couple of games did not go their way, and there were a lot of different things confidence-wise, I think were a real struggle for them, specifically for Tatum, which I'll get to. If they don't screw up the last couple of minutes of Game 4, I think they're NBA champions. Like, if you go up 3-1, I know that there's been 3-1 comes back in the finals before, and Golden State had 5-7 at home. I think that from the moment that they blew Game 4, I think Boston knew that they lost the title in that game, and everything kind of snowballed from there. And all credit in the world to the Warriors. I gave them credit in the video earlier this week. Steph was incredible, and he was the main reason that Golden State won that Game 4 in Boston. But I think that had the end of the last 10 minutes of that game gone differently, we're probably looking at Boston being champions this season. But ultimately, their issues in the finals came down to just not having enough guys to play. They had like 3.5 guys that had any level of confidence whatsoever by the end of that series, and one of them was Robert Williams, who was hobbled with an injury. I mean, their bench was, especially in Game 6, was absolutely awful. I mean, like, Grant Williams could barely play. Peyton Pritchard, if you want to tell me Peyton Pritchard didn't make a shot in the finals, I would believe you. I don't know what he shot from the field in the finals, but it couldn't have been good. And then Derek White, who was always on one end or the other in terms of his confidence level throughout the entire postseason, was basically unplayable by the end of the series. And that's really unfortunate for Boston, because they made that Derek White move, understanding that with the other changes they made on their roster, they needed guys that could play. They needed to add a couple of extra pieces that were guys you could put out there in the postseason. And by the end of that finals, from a confidence level standpoint, they didn't have enough guys that they could put out there, and they were just never able to overcome that. Now, as you kind of transition from...
Because it's sad, too, because Derek White was turning it around at the end of the postseason, too. Like, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, Game 1 of the Finals, he turned it up, and it looked like you were about to get something good from Derek White, and then for some weird reason, he just took a downfall after Game 1 of the finals. I don't know what it was, but he did not look good after Game 1. So it was unfortunate how players fell in a hole, and that's including Jason Tatum. I would say Game 3 was his best game of the series. I don't know. Tatum himself, too, did not look the same either. And I don't know if it was because he was tired or if it had to do with his shoulder. Could have been, but still, this team fell apart after Game 3 of the finals, for sure.
The finals to looking forward to the future for this team, I'm still very optimistic for them. I mean, especially considering where we were a handful of months ago talking about should you split up, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, starting the season under 500 through the first 35 games of the year. I've covered it in a video before. It's most incredible regular season turnaround, certainly in modern NBA history. Yeah. And so to go from where they were to making the finals and being 2 wins away from winning the finals is an incredible accomplishment. And it's not a season whatsoever that you should be upset about or disappointed about if you're the Celtics. However, I would caution against complacency because we've seen this before with teams. You can go back to Shaq with the Magic. You can go back to Kevin Durant with Oklahoma City, a variety of different young and upcoming teams. They get to the finals. And in this example, Tatum's 24, Brown's 25, Robert Williams is 24, they're going to make it back before they're 30, right? Of course, it's just assumed that they're going to return to the finals. That's not an assumption that you can really make. We've seen it throughout the history of the league, especially with really young teams that make it. There's no guarantee that the formula that worked for them this year is going to continue to work, especially considering that they beat Milwaukee without Chris Middleton. They barely beat him without Chris Middleton. And the East should not only be healthier, but potentially better next year. And there's no guarantee that in a very strong Eastern Conference, Boston is going to continue to be the best team. However, there are obviously things working in a positive direction for them. The youth of those 3 guys I mentioned, Williams, Brown, Tatum, the fact that Williams should be significantly healthier next season, I think that really caused them some issues constantly having to deal with, is he playing? Is he not playing? How much can we play him? How much can we really push him? If he can continue to be healthy, Robert Williams is such a difference maker and arguably their most important defensive player given how they like to play defense. And then, of course, Ime Udoka, who did a fantastic job in his first season as coach, but you would imagine there'll be some growth from him as well, continuing to understand specifically, what it takes to win a championship as a coach. And so there's obviously a lot of positive things. But if I were them, I wouldn't just look at the roster and say automatically run it back. We're good. We're going to make the finals again next year. So that, of course, implies that there are some moves to make. And that's kind of the issue here for Boston is pretty much everybody is signed to some kind of significant long-term extension, with the exception of a couple of guys the bench guys like Pritchard and Grant Williams. Derek White signed to a long-term extension. But pretty much everybody is signed to a big number except for Al Horford, who's making $26.5 million next season. It's a non-guaranteed deal, so they could save some cash if they wanted to waive him and then maybe bring him back. My guess would be he's just going to be back on the 26.5, and maybe they try and move him at the deadline because he is such a big expiring contract. If they feel like they can get.
I don't think so. I don't think they move Al Horford because he actually fits their system. I don't think they move him. I really don't think they move him. I think that's unrealistic because he plays well. I say this sometimes, and players play good in different systems, and they play bad in different systems. Like, for example, Carl Crawford, when he was moved from Tampa Bay to the Red Sox, he wasn't good with the Red Sox. He was good on Tampa Bay, but he wasn't good with the Red Sox. You know what I mean? The place that they play in sometimes doesn't fit their style of play, so
they can rely on at the 5. He was so important to them, not only as a veteran, but on the floor this year that I would really, question that decision if they did decide to get rid of Al Horford. But when you look at his contract and then Grant Williams and Peyton Pritchard, those are really the only movable guys in this roster, unless you want to start talking about moving Derek White or moving Marcus Smart. They don't have their 2022 pick. They have a pick swap that they owe to San Antonio way down the road as well. And so really quickly, you start to look at this roster as one that they need to add somebody. They need to add some piece of significance. We saw that in the finals, that if their key bench guys are not playing well, they're relying on 3 bench guys in White, Williams, and Pritchard. If 2 or 3 of those guys are not playing well, they're out of options. They don't have anyone else to go to, and they clearly need not only someone on the bench, but I think it would be helpful to have someone else that can create on the perimeter as a guard. I think that would really help them as well. And those options, I think, are going to be pretty limited. Now, the counter to that would be, given the pedigree that this franchise has and the fact you're coming off a finals appearance, you should be able to find some guys in free agency like Otto Porter going to Golden State last year, right? Like bringing in some kind of guys like that are veterans that should be able to play for you at least a little bit in the postseason as a backup to relying on 23 and 24-year-olds and Peyton Pritchard and Grant Williams to kind of anchor your bench. Obviously, that would be really helpful for them to have. However, as I continue to mention, in terms of a significant upgrade, I think it's needed somewhere on this roster just as insurance, but I'm not sure they really have the assets to make it happen. Now, one name that I will mention specifically here is someone that should have been moved at the deadline last year and will probably get moved this offseason is Eric Gordon. They're going to be looking for a first-round pick. Boston doesn't have one to give them unless they want to go into the future, but you could very easily do like an Eric Gordon in exchange for, Aaron Nesmith and some seconds and some salary and see if that's enough to get him. I think that's someone that provides them spacing, which at times Boston desperately needed, can create on the perimeter when he's locked in and engaged, is at least an average defender on the perimeter. And again, just gives them a little bit more juice at the guard spot, because when Derek White wasn't playing well, when Marcus Smart wasn't hitting shots, and when Peyton Pritchard either couldn't guard or couldn't make shots, they didn't have guard.
I will say, the finals was where they missed Josh Richardson. That's where they missed Josh Richardson. I'm not gonna lie, they missed Josh Richardson in the finals this year. Because he would be that guy who could score, shoot the ball pretty well whatsoever. They did miss Josh Richardson in the NBA Finals.
To put on the floor. I think that's why they made the Derek White trade, but obviously that didn't work out for them. The only other thing that I would mention would be, I wouldn't just given the changes this team went through last offseason and during the season under Brad Stevens with, moving Kemba and then moving Josh Richardson, moving Dennis Schroeder, I wouldn't put it past them to really explore Marcus Smart trades. And I know that's a weird thing to talk about. You're coming off of a finals appearance. It was an incredible turnaround. Obviously, he's really important defensively, wins Defensive Player of the Year. But when you're looking at movable players, guys you can realistically trade, they're not trading Brown, they're not trading Tatum, they're not trading Robert Williams. Marcus Smart is still at the top of that list. And so if you want a more legitimate perimeter-oriented guard, maybe that's an option that you look at where, yes, Marcus Smart is incredible defensively, but if Tatum doesn't have it, if Brown doesn't have it, you need a third option. And I'm not sure that Marcus Smart is really the guy that you want to be that third option. The only other thing I would say here about Boston is moving forward, any player that they add to this roster that they think is going to play significant minutes for them in the postseason needs to be this mold of player that they've already brought in, where you are at least slightly above average or really above average defensively and you have good size. Because if you bring in players like that, you can continue to do this thing where you switch everything and you're never really going to have issues defensively. And as long as that quality is there for them, as long as they are locked in defensively, they're going to be one of the best teams in the East. Are they going to be better than Milwaukee? I don't know. Are they going to be better than whoever the team is next year in the East? I'm not sure. There's no guarantee. But as long as they keep that level that they had defensively, but they were a historically good team defensively, they're going to be okay. And then there's one other point here that I'm not really seeing anybody make about this team. And that is this was a ton of change to a roster throughout the season. When you go back to the offseason, they move Kemba, Al Horford is suddenly back. They bring in Tice, they get rid of Richardson, they get rid of Schroeder, they bring in Derek White. Over the span of the last 11 months, and then during the trade deadline, the last 5 months, that's a ton of change to a roster. And so you would imagine that not only as Brown and Tatum continue to get better, as Robert Williams continues to get healthier, as Ime Udoka continues to develop as a coach, as this roster gets to coalesce a little bit more, Derek White, Marcus Smart, Pritchard, Williams, all these guys get better, you should be in a pretty good spot. I certainly think that this is an optimistic outlook for Boston. They have a replicable formula, and they have an identity as a team, as the best defensive team in the league with 2 awesome young wings that you can grow everything else around. As long as you have shooting, as long as you can guard around those 2 guys, you're going to be really good. The only thing, as I said in the previous sections of this video, that I would caution against is just assuming we're good with this roster, we don't need to make adjustments. I don't think that's the correct stance to take at all, and so I would expect them to be looking at making some of those moves we talked about throughout the video, even though it might be difficult trying to move Nesmith, maybe even looking at moving Marcus Smart, whatever the case may be. I think they need one really proven guy, like a no matter what, 100%, we can trust you in the playoffs guy. And if Derek White isn't going to be that person who they traded for him to be that guy, then they need to go out and get one. But ultimately, I don't want this to be too negative. I know that Tatum had a really poor final series. Jaylen Brown was really good in the finals, with the exception of the turnover stuff. Tatum's going to be fine. He's 24 years old. He'll be okay. I'm really not worried about it. It was an incredible season. If you told any Boston fan 35 games through the season that you're going to make it to Game 6 of the NBA
30. I'll reiterate that. 39 games. He said 35. I'm saying 39 because at the 39 game mark, they were 18-21, 11th in the Eastern Conference, out of the playoffs. If you were to say at that time, that was before January 8th against the Knicks, before they opposingly had that meeting whatsoever, after RJ Barrett hit that game winner. If you were to tell me that the Celtics are going to be in the NBA Finals and lose in 6 games to the Warriors, with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the crew that they have, I'd say I would have made the clown suit bet. I'm not lying to you. I would have made it. And I would have lost it. So yeah, I would have made that bet saying, hell no, no chance in hell they're going to make it to the finals. I will go into Boston with a clown suit and say I lost a bet thinking the Celtics would not make the NBA Finals. I would have done it. But hey man, it was a great season all around. I had a blast this Celtics season. It's honestly been one of the most fun Celtics seasons I've had in a long time. Like, genuinely, this has been the most fun season I've had for the Celtics in a long time. And that's probably going back to, I want to say, 2012. Yeah, 2012 probably was the last time I say I had this much fun in the Celtics season. Maybe even a little bit before that. I don't know. But I think I went to a total of two playoff games. I think I went to at least 10 games this season for the Celtics. It was at least 10 Celtics games this season. You guys can go back and count how many games I went to. I don't know off the top of my head. Knicks, Pelicans, Hawks. Then it was Brooklyn, I think. Then it was Dallas. Then I went to Utah. Okay, maybe 8 games. It was something. It was close to 10 games. It was close to 10 games. I know that for sure. But moves that they should make. I think they should move Derek White. That's a move I would make. I would say explore Marcus Smart trades, definitely. But unless you're getting significantly better, I don't trade Marcus Smart. I really don't trade Marcus Smart. Robert Williams, he said, should be untouchable. I'm not sure if I agree with that either. Only because of his health report and how inconsistent he is in terms of staying healthy and not getting injured whatsoever. That's the only reason why I'm saying that. So if you could get a team where you could have somebody who plays similar to him and can stay on the court, I think you definitely explore that. So, and in terms of moving Pritchard and Grant Williams, like players on the bench to try and get you better try to get you better on the bench, I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's absolutely the case. Especially where you could sell teams on Grant Williams like, oh, he had that 27-point game in Game 7 whatsoever. Let's hope they don't look at the shooting stats where he went like, I think it was 7 for 18 or whatever it was from 3. So yeah, leave a thumbs up if you guys enjoy. Subscribe right now if you guys are new. You guys know what to do. Go check out my website. Links in the description down below. If you guys want to check out my Venmo to help donate to go to games, links in the description there too. Red Sox will be coming up next. I had some good ideas coming for videos. I did a poll the other day on Instagram of like what video ideas you guys want, and just questions in general. And somebody made a very good suggestion. Maybe I'll have Mike come over here and do one too. So we'll see about that. It's been Jesse. I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.